Oh my God, it's so nice. It's so nice.
How's the family and the children? Everybody okay?
You okay?
Fantastic.
Are you okay? Oh, it's so nice.
The only problem is we can kiss.
No, we can't. Not
No,
through
kiss
this.
like on the cheek.
Oh, I see what you mean. Go on, Phil's turn. Off you pop.
Come to cheek.
No. Damn it. So
Good to see you too.
Great
That's
to see you.
It is emotional. I like it, but I don't like it at the same time.
This is
'cause it
fantastic. Oh, thank you for giving me this emoji.
Well, welcome back.
Great.
Welcome back.
That thing didn't do jack, but just lowered people's IQ and EQ. Never forget what they put you through. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. My name's Luke Radowski here. If we are Change.org, and we have a plethora of absolutely crazy and wild news to get into, especially domestically here in the United States, with some very important comments by Elon Musk and Woody Harrelson. All of this as internationally, things are also getting very more tense with China. As, of course, it's important to note here that there has been a major shift to the narrative, which we're going to be discussing and talking about in this video. If you like the shirt that I'm wearing, you could get it on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. And the clip that we played in the beginning of this broadcast was originally shared by @ClownWorld. I really enjoyed their Twitter account. I think you would too. Check them out, @ClownWorld _ on Twitter. Twitter's becoming the place to be recently, and I really am enjoying my time there, particularly because of accounts like Clown World. Seriously, they do really cool stuff, and I can't shout them out enough, and I can't appreciate them enough for highlighting the insanity and cruelty of our modern world that I think is important to remember in hindsight, especially when it comes to some of the most outrageous things humanity was put through within the last few years. This, as humanity, is probably going to be challenged even a lot more, especially in the future. And what did you think was going to happen with plutocrats and self-interested political leaders like Nancy Pelosi that have become one of the richest individuals on the face of this earth that are pretending to also to be politicians? This as Nancy recently also had a reality call.
Let me just get you the
Nancy, can you tell us why we have all the $150 billion going to Ukraine when we have homeless on the streets in your own city? Nancy, can I get some stock trading tips on how to get semiconductors in Taiwan? Nancy, why do we? Is your son involved with Hunter Biden?
And hey, you can't fault the guy for asking for stock tips, because she sure as hell has been making some really good, smart stock moves that have outperformed Warren Buffett and almost anyone else in the field. This as your politicians sell you out to the highest bidder, as of course you're forced to deal with train wrecks and chemical disasters that the US government is covering up for. This as we are recently finding out that the EPA has just ruled that the cleanup of the 102,000 gallons of liquid waste along with 4,500 cubic yards of solid waste is now paused based on an order from the Environmental Protection Agency. Now, exactly what's going on here, we still do not know here, as of course, the federal government here has been very tight-lipped about what's really going on here. They haven't been very forthcoming. All they say is that this waste will be removed, quote, very soon. What does very soon mean? Again, just more blanket, vague statements by failed bureaucrats that want to control every aspect of your life and existence. And as politicians sell you out to China, here in the United States, it has also been revealed that the United States, on average, has one chemical accident every 2 days. Now, also, the reporting of chemical accidents is also a very vague thing, could mean many different things, but I think it's fair to say that American politicians definitely do not have their priorities straight. This, as of course, we're also finding out that over the weekend, the DOJ is going after an online radio and internet host and alluding that they will be taking his pet cat. Yes, this is the latest news coming from Emmerich Jones from Austin, Texas, as he just released a video detailing specifically how in bankruptcy court, the DOJ is going after Jones's business and him personally to the point of trying to take his cat away from him and his family's children's pet in order to compensate plaintiffs from a recent court case that he was involved in. The video was posted by Mr. Jones's wife on the platform that he is still currently banned on, based on the personal decision of Elon Musk, who of course owns the Twitter platform. All of this as more tweets from Elon Musk are making the headlines, as he has just responded that the quote, media is racist, responding to an attack piece on Scott Adams. This says he has a very novel idea, saying, hey, maybe we shouldn't be racist, you know, maybe against everyone. Maybe racism is not okay. And of course, he's talking about racism for its true definition of what it really is, and not the term that the corporate media has been using it as a form of a divide and conquer agenda. As he specifically mentioned that maybe we shouldn't be racist against white people and Asians, which of course somehow is socially acceptable right now, which he questioned. And because he questioned it, there's now a media outcry. This as he also responded to a video by Robbie Starstock by writing 2 exclamation points, responding to a video particularly of black individuals saying disparaging things about an entire race of white people.
What exactly are white people superior at?
Oppression.
Gaslighting.
Lack of empathy.
Intellectualizing oppression.
Did I say oppression?
What exactly are white people superior at?
Taking what's not there. Taking shit.
Taking our ideas.
Copycatting.
Gentrification.
Appropriating things that do not belong to them.
Taking over other people's cultures and making you believe that they invented it.
Maybe they're thinking of it as repurposing. It's like recycle and repurpose.
And yes, of course, that has to be true, since a lot of these sentiments are almost in every single commercial, Hollywood TV show, movie, and cultural representation out there. And you know, the white people are so powerful and so oppressive that you could openly criticize them and nothing happens. You get promoted or a lucrative Hollywood career. This, as of course, relations between white and black people have been deteriorating ever since the media, in my opinion, has started to, of course, implement the divide and conquer agenda, meant to, of course, foment people fighting each other rather than, of course, looking at the true cause of their problems and the utter destruction of the American ideals and country. Which, last night on Saturday Night Live, Woody Harrelson brought to perspective this as during his monologue, which Elon Musk said was spot on, describing specifically a scenario where, quote, the biggest drug cartels in the world get together and buy up all the media and all the politicians and force all the people in the world to stay locked in their homes, and people can only come out if they take the cartel's drugs and keep taking them over and over. Gee whiz, where have I heard that before? Oh yeah, we experienced it within the last 3 years, and the satirical point that Woody Harrelson made, especially when it comes to him describing how the biggest drug cartels just bought off all the media, definitely rings true with the media criticizing him for bringing up this larger satirical comedic idea that, of course, rings true to a lot of individuals and everything that they had to go through within the last 3 years. And whether it's the Rolling Stone, the Daily Beast, Huffington Post, Variety, they all launched extensive hit pieces against Woody Harrelson because, you know, there's nothing more important in our current life right now, in the United States right now, than keeping an actor in line for daring to question our official establishment narrative. And again, there's so many different things that we could actually be talking about that could actually make a difference in this world. But for the media, all to talk about the same thing, the same talking points, almost as if they were reading a script paid for by the same industry that's being criticized here, we have to understand here, only makes his satirical comments that much more relevant to the average human being. This, as the corporate media has lost a lot of credibility, especially with all the PR stunts, especially how they have stopped acting on the behest of the people and started to regurgitate corporate talking points and marketing PR ideas for the very big special interests that have hijacked our institutions for their own personal benefit and profit. And what Woody Harrelson did here was launch a major truth bomb to the ether of the establishment, and he did it in an indirect way, not even calling it out fully, but just alluding to it, which shows you just how sensitive the entire establishment is to any kind of criticism. This, as all the evidence, all the data that has come in within the last 3 years has specifically shown the American people that almost every step of the way, the US government with its larger interventions made the situation that much worse for everybody. Destroying their businesses, destroying their family lives, destroying their ability to learn. And now when we look at the data, specifically with excess mortality rates, we could specifically understand that all of their interventions has not reduced the overall death rate at all. Some scientists would even argue that it did the opposite of that. I'm not a scientist, I'm not a medical doctor, but let's be honest here. The government made this that much worse and created more suffering, more pain when there didn't need to be that much of it. And now, even the Wall Street Journal just came out with a major bombshell that we've been talking about, that we've been censored because of, which we're going to get into in just a little bit. But this is why I wanted to remind you of the shirt that I'm wearing right now, that of course reminds you to trust the science, especially when it comes to glyphosate, sugar, asbestos, DDT, cigarettes, fluoride. The government knows what's best for you, and this is why be a useful lemming, do what you're told, and buy a shirt on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. You could also buy certificates of recognition that are actual real certificates that I actually have behind me right now in this video. And you can get your hand on this bad boy right here that we just started developing and producing, made with glass. We even got an official sticker. We also got an official print index thing. It looks legit. You could have your own name on it. You could put it up in your office, in your home, wherever it might be, and you could signal to people, hey, I wasn't a dummy, I was a real OG on I'mTheRealOG.com. We actually got that website too. Let me put this back now. And hey, what better way to, of course, tell everyone about who you are than not just a certificate, but you could also specifically get a shirt on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. We just released 2 new shirts this past week. One proclaiming that we want the mean tweets back already, and another one talking about how the next PSYOPs is going to be filled with UFOs. Those ideas plus a lot more. I've been wearing this one a lot here, specifically in Florida, because I just moved down to southern Florida. I absolutely love it down here. The shirt reads, Make America Florida. I don't know a lot of people here. I'm just making friends, and one of the best ways for me to make friends is by wearing these shirts, because I see who's in line with my kind of thinking process. And a lot of the times people give me high fives, people give me thumbs up, fist bumps, compliments, and then you start the small talk like, hey, what's going on? Hey, I just moved here. What do you recommend? I'd check out. I do. I'm getting to know all my neighbors. I'm getting some guest rooms. I'm expanding the operation. I'm going to be having a podcast here, a live show. All of that is possible mainly because, let's be honest here, you guys are getting shirts on thebestpoliticalshirts.com, and at the same time doing your form of lazy activism. A lot of people particularly love this one, the Biden-Fetterman It's a No-Brainer 2024 presidential campaign shirt. This one right here is the one that gets the most goofs and laughs that I've been wearing recently. You of course got the Bill Gates fake meat. If you meet someone that knows this shirt or this image and where it came from, you of course have someone that absolutely probably is in line with your particular thinking, and probably a healthy individual that lives as a good example to what we should all strive to be, someone else that you should be making friends with. I'm making a lot of friends here, and in part, I'm not just doing this as a sales pitch. I'm being honest here. I think really we need to become more vocal. We need to become more expansive. We need to talk more, express our opinions, counter bad ideas with good ideas, and have honest, real political discussions with individuals. And one of the best and easiest ways to do that and show other people that they are not alone is through, of course, wearing t-shirts in real life. We just don't have long sleeves. We have women's t-shirts, we have tank tops, we have sweaters, we have accessories, we have hats. You name it, we got it. All available on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. Check out the link down in the description below. Click on it right now and check out everything we have to offer to you, as of course we have a lot of incredible thought ideas that you could represent out there and start a very important conversation. This, as of course we are still not done here, as one of those important ideas is finally now breaking through the corporate media, as the Wall Street Journal just released this bombshell stories of theirs that confirms that the global sickness that the world dealt with for the last 3 years came from a laboratory. This is something that, of course, you heard me talk about. A lot of other independent media organizations were talking about this, and because we were punished. We were censored, we were demonetized, we were downranked in the algorithm, and in some cases, in instances, people had their accounts deleted for talking about this very important aspect of this official story that could have been essential towards really finding out what was really going on and doing our best to stop it. We couldn't stop it effectively because we didn't know what was actually going on here, and there was an active cover-up of the details here that now, according to the U.S. Energy Department, has concluded that the sickness from the last 3 years, quote, most likely arose from a laboratory leak at the Wuhan Level 3 Institute of Virology that, of course, was financed through Dr. Fauci, Eco Health Alliance, Peter Daszak, and, of course, very rogue connections, probably to the intelligence agencies of the United States. And the Wall Street Journal is recording and making this claim according to new classified intelligence reports that, of course, were provided recently to the White House and key members of Congress. This says the conspiracy theorists were right. We were punished because of it. The corporate media that upheld this lie was promoted in the algorithm, and we were screwed over for essentially calling it right from the very beginning. Now, again, this is not the first batch of classified documents, especially the classified intelligence documents that we were talking about a long time ago that came out and specifically talked about the very lax security and safety protocols at this Virology Institute. We specifically talked about how there was a prevalence of a very similar sickness going around with individuals way before the official story of this even came out. And whether it was an accident or a deliberate release here, I think we have to understand here that there are some international global ramifications for this, and also a possibility for why this is coming out right now, as of course the corporate media has been also reporting on a lot of news that essentially points the finger directly at China. This as geopolitical relations between the United States and China have essentially hit a very low point, especially in recent American history, and things really do look crappy. This especially after the latest Chinese spy balloon controversy, a lot of tensions in the South Asian Sea, a lot of tough rhetoric between China and the United States, and now we have to understand that there might be a possibility that a lot of this news, specifically around the sickness, could be, of course, directed a part of a larger program or propaganda effort. This could be a signal by the U.S. intelligence agencies, hey, we're going to release some information that's going to make you look bad, especially if you decide to, of course, arm the Russians, which, according to a lot of Chinese state media organizations, the Chinese government is actually considering doing if, of course, there is not a peace deal dealt between Russia and Ukraine. Now, specifically, the United States and NATO also have to be a part of these larger peace negotiations, as, of course, they're also very intricately involved in this larger proxy conflict. And I would wager that there's a big probability that China is saying, hey, we're going to give lethal aid to Ukraine unless, of course, this conflict stops. China has offered to, of course, negotiate a larger peace deal here. Ukraine essentially has turned down preemptively a possibility to even negotiations here. This as today, we're also finding out that, of course, Zelensky says that he will now await details to see what this possible peace plan might entail. Now, China is claiming to have a neutral stance on this larger proxy conflict, but it's pretty fair to say that their goals do not align with American Western foreign policy. But when it comes to Ukraine, they do have extensive business ties to a lot of Ukrainian infrastructure and overall have good relations with Ukraine. All of this, as very interestingly, the German defense minister also came out recently and said publicly that China should be judged by its actions, not its words. Statements that, of course, will only escalate tensions between the East and the West here, which is already escalating dramatically. This is the Chinese government has, of course, been expanding its military might and enterprises and, of course, trying to face off the larger population collapse that's going to be happening in many parts of the world. This as the Chinese government has been taking a hand-on approach, especially when it comes to incentivizing and pushing its population in order to have babies, in order to have a population which they see as integral to their future prosperity and hegemony on the world. The United States and the Western world is actually doing the opposite approach here and telling people a part of a larger marketing campaign and to, quote, make the weather gooder, not to have children. These are two different approaches here, and I would wager the ones that are not destroying their population or replacing their population would essentially in the long term work a lot better. And with the Chinese government, we also have to understand it is an authoritarian communist quasi-state that of course also has its eyes on Taiwan, which is probably something that's going to be hinted at even more extensively throughout the next few years as the Chinese government wants to take Taiwan for themselves, as the United States and China are both strategically working and trying to implement policies, preparing themselves for a bigger, insidious clash that I think is fair to say is approaching ever so closely. This, as CNN is also reporting, how Chinese military jets are shadowing American military jets outside of the coast of China. Now, you know, we kind of got to be fair here and ask ourselves, what would happen if the Chinese were flying their military jets outside the Gulf of Mexico, outside of the American border? And at the end of the day here, we have to ask ourselves, what's the strategy here? What are we doing? As of course, the United States is also fully dependent on a lot of pharma medicine from China. Most of our antibiotics, most of our vitamins, most of our supplements, most of our pills come from China. Most of our manufacturing, most of our goods produced come from China. Thank you, David Rockefeller, for setting that glorious deal up, along with, of course, Henry Kissinger, that, of course, sold this country out to the highest bidder and destroyed American factories, destroyed American labor, and sent it over to China. Seriously, Henry Kissinger is solely responsible for this, along with David Rockefeller. Him, Kissinger, Fauci, and other people have sold this country to, of course, the hands of some very bad individuals, and those individuals should be absolutely called out. If you agree, share this video with your friends and family members. It is more imperative than ever. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys actively watching, buying t-shirts, wearing them out in the general public, not being afraid, speaking your truth, being the truest, most authentic version of yourself, and saying, damn it, I've had enough, and you should at least do some critical thinking. That's my message. I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.